and this is, I think, Marvin, where I want to push back a little bit on how you framed things. And I think I understand it from your faith-based perspective to where you are in the church now. And so there are certain higher values that you want to hold on to, or it seems like you want to hold on to, which would include the prophetic status of Joseph Smith. And to what Dr. Smith said a little bit ago, where we're seeing the harm that has been affected in the past on the issue of race is now affecting people of LGBT. We're now seeing it in the issue of sexism. The church is so fond of quoting the part in the Book of Mormon where it says, all are alike unto God. And then it says male and female, bond and free. Well, that is an inherent contradiction. The fact that they're including male and female when there are still places of power and authority in the church that the females cannot hold. When I look at the priesthood power and the mantle of authority and some of the things that I think people in your position, Marv, tend to hold on to, even if they're willing to say that the prophets are making mistakes now, I don't see it as a mantle over a prophet. I see it as the cane of Brigham Young is kind of my metaphor for it. And the cane of Brigham Young was used to bear down on the backs of black members of the church, and then continued, and that cane was just passed off to prophet after prophet. And now, even though the church has disavowed this issue on the notion of race, we see that the cane is being wielded against other groups. And how do you fix that? Do you have to tell the person with the cane who's bearing down to stop beating, or do you just remove yourself from the group of people who subject themselves to the cane? And that's, I think, where there's different perspectives. Each of us, I think, take a different view on how to approach that problem. What would you say to somebody who came to you? Like, what do you think about what I just said, Marvin?
Sure. You said a lot there, so let me see if I can pull it all in. First and foremost, Joseph Smith has never been important to me. I have never followed a prophet in my life. Prophets are just like me. They're people just trying to make their way along. They've got something they're trying to do. And so I don't have any special alliance or allegiance to a prophet. I never had. What I did appreciate about Joseph Smith was the work that he claims to have produced. And so with that work, my job is to go to it, study out the Book of Mormon, study the Doctrine and Covenants, study the scriptures, and see if there's truth and value that God can help me to define. And so I agree with you. I agree with you in the fact that sword or that cane is being wielded on other groups wholeheartedly. But I don't like to pin it just on Brigham Young, simply because if the people would do today what the people could have done back then at that time, if they had done it, things would have been completely different. Because Brigham Young didn't just go make the change because he wanted to. He was being compelled by some of the members to make that change. And so when he did make that change, if the group as a body, knowing and believing God when he says, I am no respecter of persons, and then that all are equal, truly equal unto him, if they would have stood up knowing what was right and said, sorry, this isn't right, we cannot support that, what do you think would have happened? There wouldn't have been a priesthood restriction. Now, today, if everybody would stand up and say, you know something, you're absolutely right. Let's go to the Doctrine and Covenants on the priesthood issue alone. The priesthood issue alone gives us 12 direct commandments to give priesthood to all who embrace the gospel. It's the book of instructions for building the restored gospel. If you're going to go to any book to see how you're supposed to set up the church, that is it. The book of instructions for building the restored gospel. Not one place does it say women should not have the priesthood, but you have 12 places that says they should. Oh. And so that creates an equality that hopefully will be wielded as a feather or a helping hand with all of the rest of the groups. If we believe and understand the scriptures as they talk about equality, then we can expand that equality to all. But when you start building a mindset of separation, now you've institutionalized that thought, and they can use it to, use it as application in other areas.
Yeah.
So we just need to be able to stand up. And if we stop following prophets and we start following God, which we made covenants, we made no covenant to follow a prophet in any way, shape, or form. There's not one scripture that says follow a prophet. We're only doing it because it's a man-made tradition and it's been drilled into our heads over and over and over again. And so if that's been drilled into our heads over and over again and it's false doctrine, why can't we take the truth of blacks in the scriptures, of the whole race and the priesthood issue, and drill that into the members' heads over and over and over again? It's simply because we don't want to.